Hi everyone, welcome back to Crack Grade B. And we were doing schemes which were launched by Ministry of Minority Affairs. In that particular flow, let's understand our next scheme, that is Nai Udan. So this particular scheme is again for minority students. All those minority students, they will be providing the financial support. Why they will be providing financial support? Because if you have cleared the preliminary examination which were conducted by UPSC, SSC or SPSC, that is State Public Service Commissions, then financial support will be given to the candidate so that he can compete in the examinations and increase their representation in the central and state governments. So particularly here what they are saying is, see, in these examination of UPSC, SSC and SPSC, what is the flow of examination? First you have to give prelims, then mains, and then interview is followed by, right? So if you are able to clear the preliminary exam, you are belonging to minority community, obviously your financials are not so good, then this particular scheme is for you. So objective is to promote the minority students who have cleared the preliminary examination conducted by UPSC. Another thing is annual family income should not exceed 8 lakhs. It should not exceed 8 lakhs. Now, what is the financial assistance that will be provided? If you have cleared UPSC Civil Services, Indian Engineering Services and Indian Forest Services prelims examination, then financial assistance provided will be 1 lakh. State PSC, if you have cleared preliminary examination, preliminary means the entrance examination, 50,000 assistance, SSC, CGL, CAPF 25,000 and State PSC 25,000, right? Next scheme is Geo-Parsi. So why this particular scheme has been brought in? Parsi population is too much dwindling. It is too much less. That means the population is on the verge of extinction. Because obviously Parsi families are educated, they have this population control. Apart from this, they are also practicing the habit of not marrying or marrying late. That also creates few of the problems. So all in all, because of all this, the population of Parsis in India is on a reducing spree. That's why in order to revive the population and to give them the support so that they can rejuvenate their population numbers, this particular scheme has been brought in called as Geo-Parsi. The purpose is to reverse the declining trend of Parsi population by adopting scientific protocols, structured interventions, etc. Who are the targets? So targets are Parsis of the childbearing age who seek assistance under this particular scheme, adults, young men, women, boys and girls for detection of diseases resulting in infertility. So you see, the aim over here is totally related to population. How can they increase the population of Parsis? Type of assistance and the financial norm. The Geo-Parsi scheme will continue in the 15th Financial Commission with the total budgetary provisions of the 50 crores. This is a 100% central sector scheme. If you have not seen my earlier video on the schemes of Ministry of Minority Affairs, I'll suggest that please go and watch it. What I have told you the difference between the central sector scheme and centrally sponsored scheme, right? So what are the components under this particular scheme? First one is advocacy component. Advocacy component means to educate people that yes, there is a declining trend in your population and you have to check that. What what all is being told over here? Workshops, advertisement campaigns so that awareness can be created. Next, counseling for couples. All of this is relating to education. So counseling for education means educating on the matter that they have to increase the population. So counseling for couples with infertility, marriage, family and elder counseling. The Parzor Foundation will develop a comprehensive website to capture the data numbers of the Parsi population. Next is health of the community. So these are all the provisions which are concentrating on the health. Under this, child care and crash support will be given. Child care support would be maximum 8,000 rupees per child per month, only up to the age of 18 years. Means till the time your child attains the age of 18 years. In case of twins born, support to children whose age is up to 18 years. In case of third children, the support will be provided to the children who are below 18 years of age. No funds will be provided under this particular scheme for maintenance, construction or recurring expenditure for building of creche. So such building maintenance and all those things will not be provided over here. Elderly assistance is also being provided. So apart from children's, elderly will also be provided assistance, that is 10,000 rupees per month per person. Do not do the mistake of considering this as an annual thing. This is per month. So the kind of assistance which is being provided under this particular scheme is commendable, right? The income criteria for the family whose elderly are to be benefited would be 15 lakh per family per year. So if your family income is up to this, then you are eligible for elderly support. Next is medical component. So here there are, see, in order to cure infertility or in order to find out the ways so that infertility can be cured, these are the few schemes like assisted reproductive technologies, which includes surrogacy, IVF and intracytoplasmic sperm injections. These are the medical assistance which will be provided. Maximum cost 10 lakhs. Means up to this limit only the assistance will be provided. So you see, government is doing so much in order to revive the minority population, because India is having its what you can say identity from being called as a socio and diverse economy, which is having the representation of every kind of community, and hence we want that every community should be able to thrive in India well. Therefore government has come up with this particular scheme. Now the percentage of financial assistance will be based on the income levels for the medical assistance like consultation, fertility treatment, etc. So for these fertility treatments, if your annual family income is 15 lakhs or below, then the financial assistance which will be provided to you is 100% full. If your income is family income between 15 to 25 lakhs, then 75% will be provided. And if your family income is 25 lakhs and above, then it will be 50%. Right? But we have completed this particular scheme. Now we'll move on to the next scheme. This next scheme is Qawmi Waqf Board Taraqqiyat Scheme. Now what are these Waqf Board? Right? So Waqf Board is, first understand the meaning of this word. Waqf. If I am pronouncing it right. So in Islam, there are certain properties, lands, which are given in the name of God or for the service of God, right? So this Waqf board, it does the administration of such kind of properties. So if you have a property, you have given it in the name of God, obviously God cannot administer that property. That has to be done by somewhere on the on the earth, right? So therefore, these Waqf board administers these property, and I think that every religion has some kind of these religious trusts and boards who take care of the properties which belong to for the religious purposes, right? So in Islam, these are your Waqf boards. Now sometimes these Waqf boards are not in that much good of financial health. Therefore these particular schemes are brought in so that financial health of these boards can be improved and they can take on other activities as well. So see, what is the objective? The scheme is intended to help streamlining record keeping, introduce transparency and to computerize the various functions or processes of the Waqf board. Next, who is going to implement? The Central Waqf Council, New Delhi, is the nodal agency for implementation of this scheme. This particular scheme has been extended till the time of 2020, 25 and 26. The central government has set the target that they want to do 100% digitization of the Waqf property across the country under Qawmi Waqf Board Taraqqiyat scheme. Whatever properties have been given in the name of God, government wants that instead of the manual recording of the property, where there are so many chances of corruption and whatever you can call it, means there can be chances that properties are not recorded well, valuation is not being done properly. So government wants that there should be 100% digitization of such property. The scheme will be uniformly applicable across all the state and boards. So remember this particular thing, there is Central Waqf Council and then there are state level organizations as well. This particular organization is statutory. There is an act which has been passed for creation of these Waqf councils in the central level as well as for the state levels. So all state UTs Waqf board shall set up their centralized computing facilities and they will enter data in the Waqf Asset Management of India. What is the history? So government has launched a scheme in 2009, namely computerization of records of state Waqf boards with a view to streamline the record keeping, introduce transparency and to computerize and digitize records of Waqf property. The scheme has now been modified and it has been renamed as the Qawmi Waqf Board Taraqqiyat scheme. Now it has been revised and the following provisions has been added. So financial assistance again will be provided to the SWB, State Waqf Board. What will be the financial assistance? 1 lakh rupees each for Waqf board having more than 6,000 Waqf property and 75,000 each for other Waqf boards for stationery and ICT consumables to be used by one zonal officer and one survey assistance will be provided for each zonal offices. So these are the things for which this particular assistance is being given, and higher amount will be paid to such Waqf boards who has higher number of properties under their what you can surveillance or under their control. So all those Waqf boards which are having more than 6,000 Waqf properties, they are going to get 1 lakh rupees. Manpower for one zonal office would be provided in the state Waqf board where the number of Waqf properties is between 10,000 to 25,000 and for two zonal offices where is more than 25,000. However, no manpower will be provided where number of Waqf properties is less than 10,000. So manpower support will also be provided over here depending on the properties that you are having. Next, 50,000 rupees will also be provided in order to maintain the video conferencing facility. Obviously, what we want is that Waqf board should digitize themselves. They should do all the activities through the digital interface. So obviously, they are also giving 3 lakh rupees for the maintenance and maintaining the e-office solution software, for installing this particular software. Now next scheme is also related to this. This is Shahri Waqf Sampatti Vikas Yojana. So in order to improve the financial position and to enable them so that they can enlarge the area of their welfare work, they can take more welfare work. For that purpose, this particular scheme has been brought in. This Yojana has been formulated with a view to protect vacant Waqf land from encroachers and to develop economically viable projects on these particular properties. See, property, if it is lying vacant, it is not going to give you any returns. But again, these Waqf boards does not have the essential enablers so that they can work on these property. Government is supporting them through this particular Vikas Yojana so that they can utilize these properties in better way and hence they can generate more revenue out of these properties. Implementing agency is Central Waqf Council would continue to be the implementing agency of this particular Yojana. What are the benefits which are given? So interest-free loan is being given to Waqf boards in the country for the construction of economically viable buildings on the land. If you have vacant land, then you can construct building on that, and government is providing you the interest free loan. Like you can create commercial complexes, marriage halls, hospitals, cold storage, etc. Vacant land is not going to give you anything apart from the capital appreciation, but if you can generate in meantime, you can generate other type of income from this as well. As a special case, grant in aid shall be granted to Central Waqf Board with the prior approval of the Ministry for Social Development Projects on the Waqf Board. Mostly in the Ministry of Minority Affairs, your scholarship schemes are very important, and we are going to study scholarship schemes as well, but these are the miscellaneous things which also need to be understood. So loans under this particular Yojana will be provided for development of Waqf property which is situated in urban Yojana. Why? Because the scheme's name only starts from the Waqf, right? All Waqf board which are in full possession of the property and in the opinion of CWC are not insolvent shall be eligible for the interest free loans. Maximum interest free loan will be 2 crore or 75% of the estimated cost, whichever is less. If the proposed project is not completed within the time, then CWC may consider justify extend the period if it feels right. CWC is Central Waqf Council. If no time is extended, or if the extended time has also expired, you are not able to build the project within the extended time as well, then CWC will impose a penalty on you which shall not be more than 4% per annum, right? Loan shall be repayable normally in 16 half-yearly installments with the moratorium of 1 year after the final installment of loan is disbursed. Means when the complete loan amount has been given to you, after that 1 year wait period will be there, and then 16-year half-yearly installments, that means 8 years will be the total. Next is Virasat, a credit scheme for the craft person. Again, what we are doing over here is we are helping the artisans and the craft persons of the notified minority, and we are providing them the working capital. See, you can support the art in various formats, and this is just one format. Here you are not providing, in few of the schemes earlier we have seen, like your Ustad scheme, there you want to give the training in the traditional skills. Here you are not giving training, here you are providing financial help, that is working capital. So please understand, there are not multiple schemes, but multiple schemes can target towards one thing, but the approach taken will be different. So here the approach is that they want to provide the working capital as well as the fixed capital requirement. Who is going to implement? National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation. So for each kind of such communities, there is a Development and Finance Corporation. The aim of this kind of organization is to provide funds for the schemes which are being launched by such particular ministry, or which are being launched for the benefit of such particular communities. Now maximum loan limit is 10 lakhs. 5% under credit line 1 and 6% for the credit line 2 for the male people. Further, a 1% loan rebate will be provided for the women artisans. Hunar Haat exhibitions will be taken care of. Now what is this credit line? Credit line 1 is the families with annual household income up to 98,000 in rural areas and 1,20,000 annual income in urban areas. They are eligible in credit line 1. Suppose they have categorized the people in two ways. Credit line 1 says that if you are having an annual household income in rural areas up to 98,000 and in urban areas up to 120,000, then you are eligible under credit line 1. And under credit line 1, what is the interest rate? 5%. So they have given a variation that if you are earning less, then we will be charging less interest from you. Credit line 2 is these are the families which are having an annual household income up to 8 lakhs. So obviously they have to give a credit line 2 and that will be giving a interest rate of 6%. Next is Kaushal se Kushalta. They want to enable and mobilize a large number of minority youth in the traditional art and craft sector to take up industry designated quality skill training. So here what they want to do is they want to formalize. There are two types of things. One is formal way of education, the other one is informal way of education. Formal way means when you go to school, you study in classroom, you give examinations and then you get your degree. That means it is certified that you have learned that particular skill. And what is informal way of learning? Under informal way of learning, what you actually are doing, you are learning the skill. Suppose there is a person who is at the mechanic shop, he is actually performing daily the same work, but he has got no certificate. There is no certification that he is actually brilliant in that particular task. That is called as informal way. So what we are trying to do over here is we want to formalize the learnings. So they want that these people should get their quality trainings and they should get certificates which will prove that they have enough qualification in order to establish these. Now, skill trainings will be provided so that they get better livelihoods. At least 70% placements of the trained candidate is the what you can say target here, including wage employment as well as the self-employment. Implementation, who is going to implement? National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation. This is the corporation, this is the organization who is going to implement it. The period of training will be maximum up to 6 months or 600 hours. Stipend, here they are, if while you are training, they are also giving you, not only entails the provision of 1000 per month per candidate, and also the entire cost of training is borne by this finance corporation, National Minorities Finance Development and Finance Corporation. Placement guarantee is also being provided for the minimum 70% candidates. So that means if you are doing the training over here, then it is guaranteed that you will get the placement. At least 70% people will get the placement. Now, who's going to do the monitoring? So project implementing agencies should track the trainees as per government guidelines of Ministry of Skill Development from the date of completion with respect to their career progression and other parameters. Each candidate should be tracked once every month for a period of 1 year. Now, what are the training costs? These particular costs are guided by the common norms, but yes, these are notified by Ministry of Skill Development. So category 1 49 rupees per hour, category 2 42 rupees, category 3 35 rupees. Who are eligible under this? So members of notified national minority communities. These are 6 communities: Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Buddhist, Jains and Parsis, and they should be having an annual family income up to 8 lakhs. Preference will be given to skills having local demand and potential for growth. It will be given to women as well as person engaged in occupational growth. Who can be trained under this particular scheme? The people who are in the age of 18 to 55 years are eligible for the skill development program of National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation. Right? So this we have completed the other schemes. Now we'll focus on the scholarship schemes. Yes. So now we are going to start scholarship schemes. Various kinds of scholarship schemes for different stratas of minority population have been launched. Understand one by one. Understand also for whom these are being issued. What is the kind of scholarship? What is the extent of scholarship which is being provided over here? These are the important things that you have to learn. Number one is scheme of merit cum means based scholarship for students belonging to the minority communities. Now here the objective is they want to provide the financial assistance to the poor and meritorious students who are belonging to the minority segment. Now will this scholarship will be given to everyone? No. This particular scholarship will be awarded to those students who have secured not less than 50% marks or equivalent grades in the previous final examinations, right? Apart from that, annual income of the parent should not exceed 2.5 lakhs. What will be the financial assistance? So under this, the scheme is central sector scheme. That means the funding is coming from the central government. Implementation is also from the central government. The duration will be for the entire academic year. It will also cover the technical and professional courses at undergraduate and postgraduate level, covered, selected and notified by the state government or the union territory concerned. In all these schemes, there will be a separate mention for the girl child, right? So 30% for the girl students of the each minority community, transferable to the male students in case girls are not available in that particular community. Right? Means this particular quota is not being fulfilled. A student shall be eligible for only one scholarship. It cannot happen that you are taking benefit of every type of scholarship that is available. Only one you will be eligible for that out of all the available scholarships of the central government which are meant for SC, ST, OBC and minorities. The list of graduate degree level and postgraduate degree level technical and professional courses which are covered under this particular scholarship is available on the website of the ministry. Now what is the rate of scholarship? 20,000 rupees per annum subject to actuals, means 20,000 rupees or the actual expenditure, whatever is less. And for maintenance allowance, it will be given in a lump sum for a whole year, 10,000 rupees for hostlers and 5,000 for the day scholars. Day scholars means you are going in the daytime to the institution and in the night coming back to your own home. Next is scheme of post-matric scholarship for students belonging to the minority community. Post-matric means metric is called as to the 10th class, right? So after 10th class scholarship, this is being provided. Objective is to award scholarship to the minority communities so that they can attain the higher education. Scholarship will be awarded to the students who have secured not less than 50% marks, right? Income of the parent should not exceed 2 lakhs. Now the income limit has changed over here. It is again a central sector scheme. Scholarship shall be provided for the entire duration of the course. It will be provided for studies in India. Whether you are studying in government or the private, that doesn't matter, but it should be in India. It will also cover technical and vocational courses in industrial training institutes, that is ITIs. If you are doing ITIs provide short skill based training courses so that you can have the opportunity to do job, right? So all these polytechnics and ITI courses, these are also covered for this particular scholarship. What are the rates for scholarship? See, rate of scholarship over here is admission and tuition fees for class 11th and 12th, 7,000 per annum. Admission and tuition fee for technical and vocational courses of 11th and 12th. Then here the scholarship is 10,000, and if you are taking the scholarship for undergraduate or PG level, then the scholarship is 3,000. Maintenance allowance is given for the class 11th and 12th including technical and vocational courses, 380 per month for the hostlers and 230 per month for the day scholars. Next is scheme of pre-metric scholarship for students belonging to the minority communities. Pre-metric scholarship before 10th. So obviously the poverty doesn't hit you as per the grade. There are poverties at all the levels, and hence even if you are before the 10th level also, they are providing you the scholarship. So objective is at pre-metric level will encourage parents from the minority communities so that the school going children will keep on going to the school. Otherwise sometimes it happens that as soon as children attain the age of 11-12 years, then parents start sending them to the different kinds of works so that they can earn an extra amount of money from for home. So in order to prevent this particular practice, what government tries is, government says that we want that there should not be any dropouts, and in the minority section the power education related thing is still very poor. So because of all of this, the scholarship is being provided over here. The scheme will form the foundation for their educational attainment, and they will provide a level playing field in the competitive employment. What is the eligibility? So it will be awarded to those students who have secured not less than 50% mark in the previous final examination, and annual income of their parents from all sources does not exceed 1 lakh. Again, pre-metric scholarship, the limit is again reduced. This particular scholarship will be provided for the entire course. It will be awarded in India if you are studying from a government or private school from class 1st to class 10th, right? What are the rates of scholarship? See, rate of scholarship over here is admission fees for class 6 to 10, 500 per annum will be given. From 6th to 10th, tuition fees 350 per month it will be given. Admission fee is a one-time affair. Tuition fee is every month that you have to pay. Now this tuition fee is not, they are talking about private tuition, no. When you are paying the fees of the school, in the fees of the school there is a basic component which is called as the tuition fees. Next is maintenance allowance. Maintenance allowance from class 1 to 5th 100 per month, and for class 6 to 10th this will be given 600 per month for the hostelers and 100 for the day scholars. Next is this is again the pre-metric thing. Begum Hajrat Mahal National Scholarship. Now this particular scheme focuses on the girl child. See, to recognize, promote and assist girl students who are belonging to national minorities who cannot continue their education due to lack of financial support. So the scholarship which is being provided over here is 5,000 rupees each for class 9th and 10th, and 6,000 rupees each for the class 11th and 12th. That means 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, the scholarship will be provided to you. It will be announced by concerned state and union territory government by giving the advertisement in the newspapers. It will be admissible, means the money of scholarship will be provided for the expenditure on payment of school and college fees, expenditure on the books, expenditure on stationery equipments which are required, as well as the boarding and the lodging charges. The scheme of Begum Hajrat Mahal, it was earlier known as the Maulana Azad National Scholarship for Meritorious Girls. It was started by late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, earmarking for the balance quota. Out of the total scholarships, each state will be allocated a fixed number of scholarship. This particular quota will be based on the population of minorities. If a particular state is having a higher level of minority population, then the higher quota will be allocated to them. In case if one state is not able to provide the sufficient number of eligible applications, then the balance quota will be allocated to the same community from the other state. So this particular quotas are based on the community wise, right? So suppose there are not enough applications from any particular community. I do not want to target any one particular community, so hence I am not taking any name. Just assume it that if there are not enough applications from one particular community in one particular state, then quota will remain in the same community only, but to the other state. Any other person who is belonging to the same community but from the other state will be given the chance. Now what are the eligibility criteria over here? Only girl students who are belonging to the 6 notified minority communities are eligible. Girl students who are studying in class 9 to 12th and have secured at least 50% marks in the previous class or qualifying examination. Income of the parents should not exceed 2 lakh. A student shall be eligible only for one scholarship of the central government. You cannot take the benefit of all the available scholarships. A self-certified community certificate is required from a student who has attained 18 years of age. No scholarship will be given to the students who are going to study abroad. Right? Every year you have to apply fresh, because this particular scheme is providing you the scholarship from the class 9 to 12th, right? So you have to do every year application. Next is National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation. We have studied this particular corporation again in the schemes as the implementing agency. So it is very important for you to know about this particular organization. The objective is to provide concessional loans for self-employment and income-generating activities for the socio-economic development of backward section. This was started in 1994. It was incorporated on as a company, not for profit, under Section 25 of Companies Act. It is a national level apex body for the benefit of minorities as defined under National Commission for Minorities Act. The concessional credit scheme of this particular organizations which are running by this particular organization is term loan, education loan, micro loan, Virasat scheme. All these particular schemes are being implemented through this particular agencies. In order to get the assistance from the schemes, you have to fall in under these two criterias. Credit line one is you should not be having annual income more than 98,000 in rural areas. You should not be having annual income more than 1,20,000 for urban areas. And under credit line 2, up to 8 lakhs for providing higher quantum of loans. This is it. National Waqf Development Corporation Limited. So as per high level committee, India has got largest Waqf land in the world, more than 6 lakhs. So this particular corporation has been established by following the recommendations of Sachar committee. So Sachar committee was constituted specially to focus on the educational, political and as well as other economical considerations of Muslim community. So this particular committee was constituted in order to give the recommendations how to do the betterment of the Muslim section. So therefore recommendations were that if the properties of Waqf boards are developed properly, then it will give an annual income of about 12,000 crores. So hence this particular corporation was constituted. National Waqf Development Corporation Limited was established as a company under Companies Act 1956. Why? So that Waqf properties in urban and rural areas can be enhanced and their revenue generating capacity can be increased. State Waqf boards. What are state Waqf boards? So these are the institutions which are established by the state governments under this particular act. So if someone says that state Waqf boards are statutory organizations, then please say yes. Why statutory organizations? Because these have been constituted under a particular statute, right? Functions. These state Waqf boards work towards the management, regulation and protection of the Waqf bodies in the Muslim community. Sachar committee, it was constituted as Prime Minister's high level Justice Sachar committee. Why this was constituted? To give a report on social, economical and educational status of Muslim community of India. It was chaired by Justice Rajinder Sachar. Next is National Commission for Minorities. So this particular commission was made through the Minorities Act 1992. It was the first statutory national commission set up in 1993. First of all, 5 communities were recognized as national communities, and then in 2014, Jains were also included as a notified community or notified minority community. So with this, we have wrapped up the schemes which are provided by Ministry of Minority Affairs. I hope that you have learned a lot out of these lectures, and if you have, then please do not forget to give us a like. Thank you so much.